Good evening, everybody. I hope you're ready for this one. It's been a mad week. I don't really know. I don't think I've ever watched this much wrestling in the space of a week in a very, very long time. But first of all, returning to the show is Lee. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks, mate. You know, remarkably upbeat despite what happened to our football team yesterday, but we're not going to mention that. But I'm all. And you mentioned watching all the wrestling in the week. I watched the whole of Monday Night Raw, and I've watched NXT New Year's Eve today. So that's the most I've seen in blooming years. So it's been a good week, mate. Really good.
I nearly dropped my phone in shock when you said you've watched NXT New Year's Evil, to be honest.
There you go.
I did tell you the day after, I believe, that you should watch the first match, but if you don't see anything else, then it's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I had a chance to today, so it was good.
That's good.
Then, how are you doing, mate? Are you well?
I am. Obviously, I had my set in London, in Brixton at the weekend, so I'm still coming down to earth from that, really. When I started that whole journey, I never expected for it to happen. So it's really good when these things kind of do happen. So yeah, all good. Hope to see you soon, Devon, on the shows. I know you are getting over a little bit of an illness, so all the best. But we have a new entrance to the channel, which I'm really excited about. A chance encounter, I think. A chance encounter on both. I should have thought about what I was going to say before this. Chance encounter on a WhatsApp chat. I will. Lee, I should have had a little bit more context. So the the shows that we all go to, and the show that I was playing at on Friday, I don't know what's going on now. Friday was a Sin London show. They have created a huge family of people that go to the gigs. I've met some of the nicest people that I've ever met during that. So it was really nice. I don't actually know. Can you remember, because my brain is a little bit frazzled, how we... I kind of know a little bit, but I don't know if you can add some more substance to what happened in the WhatsApp, because I'm not entirely 100% sure.
Well, the WhatsApp is a very confusing environment when it comes to the Sin lot, especially because there's so many people who are just so active and passionate about everything they do. But at some point, I remember you were piping up and talking about a bunch of wrestling with some of the people in the Sin chat, and I've already had private conversations at some of these gigs with some people about wrestling. So then you were talking about Wrestle Dogs, and I was like, oh, I caught some of your videos literally just in my algorithm as is. So I was like, oh, absolutely. I want to, I've consumed tons of wrestling content just in my downtime. Like when I'm not working on music or gaming, it's usually wrestling. So it was just complete, just random. Oh, here you are in the same base community, and another kindred spirit when it comes to the sport of pro wrestling. So obviously we had to get linked up, and you dropped me into the Instagram channels and all of that, and then that's just kind of how it blossomed. And it's just great, like-minded individuals, people coming together from every walk of life and through the things that they love. And one of the things that a lot of us love is pro wrestling, which seems to be on an upward after quite a few years of it was looking kind of spotty, but that's what it's about. Here we are. So yeah, obviously it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And the set you played in Brixton was absolutely disgusting. So that's definitely a benefit. So thanks for having me on the show.
No, that's all good. Lee, to add in context, for the people that go to these gigs, disgusting isn't bad.
You didn't need to explain. It's all He just paid a dirty set.
A little bit like that, but less like that at the same time.
Full of filth.
Yeah.
But the best compliment, one of the best compliments I've ever had on this channel was when I walked outside Brixton Tap and she said, "You know what? My mum really likes the show as well. Shout out to your mum." That sounds pretty weird.
I've heard
Yeah, someone clip that. Yeah, no, yeah.
This is a shout out to my mum.
Nah, it was just because she'd watched the channel and I thought it was a really nice thing that they watch wrestling together. I thought what an amazing thing to have in common. The closest that my dad gets is saying that you do know it's all made up, right? And I was like, well, I've not heard of that one before.
Right, son.
And then mum says when the promos are on and all the commentating, it's just rather annoying. But I think she's the closer one to watching it out of the two, to be honest. I
had an older gentleman talk to me who must have overheard me talking to somebody else when I was talking about the AEW show that we went to at Wembley. And oh, you know, it's all made up, don't you? What?
Yeah.
You had to play it up, didn't you?
Those same people that say that to me, I wish they could be put into a ring for 5 minutes and just get one slam on the mat, and then they'd see how fake it really is. Like, obviously,
come on, I'll take them on, Sam. I'll bring them on.
Yeah,
on my shoulders, wham.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to, man. The stream, obviously, for the link for the stream, I'll get my words right, is in the Instagram. So I don't think you'll have far to scroll back because I think that's the last message. But yeah, other than that, how you doing?
Me?
Yeah, are you talking to me or Lee?
Yeah, because I never actually asked you how you're doing.
Yeah. No, I'm doing great. Just got back from my first day back at uni. This is my final year, so quite good. Just applying my knowledge, and yeah, just good wrestling, good music, good times, good eating. Starting off the year good. I'm starting to sound like Tony Khan in a post conference where he says, "Great, I'm the good guy. He's the great guy." So yeah, no. I got nothing to really complain about. Yeah.
As long as you don't sound like the Rock on NXT, and then it's
yeah. No,
oh dear, oh boy.
But first of all, we haven't done this before, so this is new to the channel. I'm really excited. If none of you didn't see our masterpiece of a stream that was last Monday or Tuesday, I don't know which day it was.
Yeah.
But you might be mistaken if you've missed it, apart from when the connection was okay, we were talking about the Royal Rumble being in Saudi. That's the only part I think to go back and watch because it hasn't been deleted. I did keep it up there because some weeks aren't going to be all as glossy and amazing as they sometimes are. So
there's another one.
It's one of those Saudi Arabian ghosts. They heard you talking about
last week. So yeah, we it wasn't until the story is though it wasn't until after the stream that I actually found out what Lee said, because of the connection problems, as you can probably guess. I didn't hear it at all until after, and it's the one time that I've gone back and watched the stream just to see how truly bad it was. But this was definitely the highlight from the stream. So I have cut it, and I will play it for you when I find the correct button. I'm just moving positions.
I think I've lost Jenna, you know.
Oh no. Right, let me I'm back. I'm just moving positions in the hope that my internet is much better.
No worries, Sam. No one's watching. It's all right. It's fine. It's only live right here on youtube.com.
It is. That should be much better though.
No worries. As we see a wonderful indoor plant now. I believe his name is Tony.
the power of coming downstairs. I'll slowly add myself back and everybody back there. So yeah, that was what happened. The 2 viewers that were watching before I put that video on have now left. So
good.
Maybe they didn't like Tony, which is
how can you not like Tony? He's
a little bit disappointing. But yeah, I know he that was his shot at fame. Although the video was very blurry and you couldn't really see Tony in his finest form, which was unfortunate. But he is there in the corner.
We'll be getting Tony merch out soon, right?
Yeah, moving swiftly on because I don't think it went down as well as I'd hoped. So yeah, obviously the start of the Netflix era. I don't think any of us quite knew what to expect, other than that we would have shows and pay-per-views and some random stuff in there. But yeah, that's kind of all we knew. So to see the start and the success I think it's going to be, it's fantastic. Even to the point now where the Premier League have come out at the same time as all of this was going down and said they would like to create a streaming service of their own for an amount of money. Obviously, take this with a pinch of salt because it could just be somebody like myself making it up in the bedroom. But it has been in quite a few different places. They obviously won't directly say that it was because of the success that the wrestling's had this week on Netflix, but it's just weird that it comes around at the same time. Their rights with Sky Sports are coming up, and they're debating whether they want to make this a monthly thing, which I will on hand say, if that's true, has come all from what's happened with Netflix and WWE over the last 2 weeks. I guess my first question before I start going on to what happened was, Lee, first of all, what were your, I guess the same question that I've answered to myself, what was your thoughts going into it, and have they been true or false?
So my kind of thoughts were, well, how are they going to start this era? Because you might get it's quite a big possibility you're going to get a whole lot of new audience come up there. Some maybe returning wrestling fans, if you like me, have watched the whole thing, right? And then it'll be interesting to see how they, much like how they produced Saturday Night's Main Event a couple of weeks ago, where they gave a bit of a backstory kind of thing to every match that I was talking about. They gave a lot of, this is what's been going on, and this person's been going on with this person and all that. So I wondered if they'd sort of stick to that formula. I thought they'd address the past. I thought they did that exceptionally well. I thought the production was going to be absolutely tip-top, and it blew my mind how way they filmed it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's how I'll leave it for now.
Yeah. Passing it over to you, Hamza. What are your thoughts to that same question?
Well, my expectations were they're going to be reaching a larger, like, non-wrestling demographic, or bringing more people back, like Labs fans. So my expectations were they were just going to pull in a bunch of big name talent and keep it, play it kind of safe. And I think that's exactly what they did, but it over-delivered in a sense, because I think they stacked a lot on top of each other, where it, like, I was expecting it to be more kind of sine wavy, it was going to go up and then down a bit and then up, but it maintained like an upward trend. So I thought it was very audacious to do that. And the Raw on Netflix has definitely kickstarted something off. I don't know if SmackDown really would come into it, emulating as well, but the Raw was definitely a standout, and I think they over-delivered. The new era is going to be interesting, and definitely there's going to be a lot more voices, I think, when it comes down to it, because a lot more people are getting back into wrestling as a whole. It's kind of penetrated that mainstream again. Like exactly what you're saying. If the Premier League does do something like this quickly off of the back of it, I mean, there's massive amounts of potential for like all-in streaming for almost anything, let alone having it across like one of the most like the largest distributor going. So it's only going to put more eyes onto the product and more eyes into the business and more money into it as well. So I think it's good for everyone.
And
yeah.
to add to that, sorry, Sam, just to add on that.
On.
You mentioned about bringing in the mainstream. Hello there. How you doing? Good to
Hey,
see you,
how's it going, guys?
all
Yeah,
good,
good,
all
mate.
good. I'll just make one point, and I'll give it to you. That you mentioned about it going into mainstream. It's funny. It's funny. On the very first episode, they managed to get people talking on big platforms through the media, through mainstream newspapers. Maybe not for the person they wanted to talk about, but it went out everywhere. So like you say, it's an exciting time for WWE at the moment.
Yeah.
For them, it's this age-old. Any publicity is good publicity, though. That's what I've thought about it and have on consideration. But first of all, Devon, how are you doing?
I am 1 foot in the grave, but I have been feeling so sick over the last few days. I don't know if you ever seen South Park, specifically when Kenny makes his dad take that medicine and his dad is pooping and vomiting at the same time.
Oh gosh.
But that actually happened to me over the weekend, and I'm not excited, I'm not happy about it.
Did it take a screenshot like people have theorized, or
if it did, then it is stuck. It's the thought is stuck in my memory for life now. So that's
the
probably,
darkest recesses of your mind?
Yeah, that's probably where the screenshot is saved, just in my memories. But yeah, not a fun time, not a fun weekend. Haven't made any videos or done anything, but I just came out of here, just to make one announcement, and that is, boo you, Hulk Hogan. Yes, we're still booing you to this day. I don't know why people are booing you for various reasons, and I've been looking it up. I've been sick in bed, just looking up why are people booing Hulk Hogan. I wonder why now.
He's in the background there.
Some people were saying it's because of some other stuff, but I don't know. So I don't know. There's so many reasons. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. What could be happening?
2 seconds, Sam. Go for it.
2 seconds.
Boo!
There he is.
Boo! You
crowd booing. Love it.
Yeah.
Yes. I know there's people split on, is it because he's such a prolific liar, or is it because of his racism, or is it because he's just a horrible person? There's so many reasons, but what are your reasons on booing him?
You missed the flat beer as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot the beer, his political takes. I mean, there's so many reasons to actually boo him. He stopped the wrestlers from having a union back in like the 70s. Like, come on. Wrestlers are still independent contractors. Imagine being an independent contractor and you can't decide who you work for. That's crazy.
It's we had a little bit of a conversation, didn't we, around it. I mean, I don't know if it's off stream or on stream. Everything's traded into one, like I say. But it's just the way I look at it. It's just really unfortunate, because not unfortunate on what he's done, because he's dug his own grave basically. But
yeah,
it's unfortunate that someone that made wrestling what it is today has now almost that forgotten about, and I think probably has it all forgotten about because of the actions that he decides to choose afterwards. I don't really know where they go from now, because they can't erase him from video packages. That's not something that they can do. They could, but it's not something.
I mean, I think it's time they could have moved on by now. Like, you have your whole replacement in John Cena, who, for all we know right now, doesn't have anything negative against him. I mean, I still personally believe he might be stealing the souls from the children that he visits in all his, because he visits a lot of them, and like he hasn't really aged that much. So like, he might be taking the souls, and we don't know, and there's no proof of that. But until that comes out, we could have replaced him years ago. Stop showing Hulk Hogan packages. Just show John Cena ones. He was a more prolific champion in a better era. He had better opponents. He was running it for 2 decades at this point. I remember seeing John Cena when I was a kid. I'm 34 years old. I remember seeing him win his U.S. championship and go on that run and become like the whole John Cena that we know. I remember when it was still Thugonomics John Cena, and then you can promo it from there to where he, started doing the more all hustle and stuff and more for the kids. You can go through that whole era instead of, Hulk Hogan stuff, which is, you already got to go back to the 80s for that anyway. The footage isn't as nice. It doesn't look as good on the packages. Just use John Cena. Hulk Hogan, you don't even want him showing up nowadays, He's going to say something or do something weird. He's going to promote his beer that nobody wants. Come on, bro.
Exactly.
I think it's too late.
It's Budweiser Light, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm just saying, they had literally over 15 years to make this decision, and they're just now being ooh, in the Netflix era, should we cut him out? Yes, you should have cut him out in the PG era. You should have cut him out in the realistically, you could have cut him out in the Attitude Era. We wouldn't have cared. Make The Rock his replacement for all we care. Triple H could have been his replacement for all I care. Anybody but Hulk. I never really liked Hulk Hogan. Even from the beginning. His best thing for me was when he was that Mr. America guy. And they was oh, you're definitely Hulk Hogan. And it's no, brother, I'm not Hulk Hogan. That was the funniest thing I think he ever did in his career. But outside of that, NWO Hogan, I get it for the moment, but it didn't even save WCW. He did everything he did. It was just he was just a guy in the moment. There could have been another guy in the moment. There were tons of guys who could have been there in the moment to replace him. But he was just the lucky chosen one. Yeah, it just feels like he was part of a system and he just took advantage of it. And now we're just giving him extra credit just for being there and being on top, where it's all right, guys, they could have put anybody on top. And I feel like it still would have worked. Maybe not anybody, but there's at least 4 or 5 people that they could have put on top where Hogan was. And I guarantee you that the company would have just been as big,
Exactly. Can I just say, in your opening statements, I thought you were awfully polite about what you said. Where you said whether it be his previous actions or or his comments, you forgot to mention the fact that Hulk Hogan is a complete and utter prick.
Yeah, that's true. There's just so many reasons why.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I had to get that out.
Yeah.
The fact that he did absolutely everything in his playbook on the segment that he had. And from the moment the music hit, and there's Jimmy waving his old American flag, waving Old Glory and all hope to try and get people. Because I think Jimmy's a very smart man. Yeah. And I think he knew what was going to happen.
Oh, yeah, you got to wave the flag at least.
It was hilarious because Jimmy's singing the song as well. He's having a great time.
Yeah.
And then Hogan's like, oh, they're booing me. Oh, I know. I'll shout out Andre the Giant, who I body slammed at WrestleMania 3. I'll do the Randy Savage impression. Oh, yeah. There's still, oh, dear. He couldn't wait to get out of there. And no, he cannot come back on our screens. Absolutely not. It was all over the hype packages for the next Saturday night's main event. It would have been really interesting because Jesse the Body's doing commentary on Saturday night's main event. He would have ripped him in two. But no. I think anything they do with Hogan will have to be on a VT, and they can't put him in front of a live crowd. And it's just I
feel bad for Jimmy because he had to stand there with the flag the whole time thinking they're not going to boo the American flag.
No.
Bro, they're completely going to boo you with the American flag. Come on. And yeah, it's just, and I know people also want to say it because it's California. I think that would happen in any stadium in any state, no matter what the political leanings of the city that they're in. I just think enough people just don't like Hogan everywhere. Like it's why his beer isn't selling. Like, Stone Cold Steve Austin has a beer, it sells more. They don't spend a bunch of money on advertising on WWE, so his beer actually sells and makes money. But also he doesn't get a lot of hate. Like Undertaker was there in the same arena that same night. He had Trump literally on his podcast. He's openly been Republican for like years now. He did not get booed. This had nothing to do with that. People don't like Hulk Hogan. Also, these are wrestling fans. I don't know if you know this, but American wrestling fans, 99% Republican. That's just what they are. If you're there watching it, you already know that's just how their demographic. Maybe the people who watch on TV, maybe some Democrats, but a lot of them are same leanings as the wrestlers. Like, come on, it's not even like a fair assessment on that one. People hate Hulk Hogan, and I think that, like, if you ever just heard him talk, literally outside of wrestling, sometimes even in wrestling, you'll be like, man, I don't like this guy either. And he's bald. He's always been bald. Let's bring that up. Like, why are we acting like that covering did anything? We know you're bald. Just like cut your hair. You're like the worst type of bald because you have the long hair on the back. So you could just like, it's like you're the worst type of bald person. Like, just cut it. Like, why is your hair so long but so bald at the top? Like, you gotta just let it go.
Shout out to all the bald people watching.
Yeah, I mean, shout outs to bald people. But,
it wasn't an attack on you. It was an attack on one.
No, it was an attack on Hulk Hogan specifically.
He needs a barber.
Exactly. So, I thought this would be a good moment to add this bit in that I actually added to my notes today. So, on the first episode, live, now we're a week out of it nearly, we had 4.9 million live viewers globally. 2.6 million of those were in the US, which was kind of expected anyway. That was 116% higher than Monday Night's Raw average of 1.2 million in 2024. And this is the one that really interested me, to be fair. During this stream, they doubled the age average demographic of 18 to 49-year-olds compared to last year. So that says a lot, because as you had conversations about this, they go, well, it's only the kids that watch wrestling now. It's not really anybody else that's over the age of 18. So actually, that's kind of a middle finger up to you people.
Wait, I do have a question. For Netflix, is it on the Netflix Kids version as well? Or is it just on Netflix?
I've not checked that one.
Because if you can't watch wrestling on the Netflix Kids version, then how many people would be registered as under 18 using the actual Netflix? It would probably be registered under their parents or some older person's account anyway, which would make whoever's watching it on that in that age demographic.
On that point,
but we do know it's fairly easy to log into your Netflix.
Yeah, it is. But I'm just saying, and it's like, hey, if I'm a kid and I'm watching it, if it's not showing on Netflix Kids, I have to watch it on regular Netflix. Now they just think I'm my dad. So now they're just going to be like, oh, this guy who's in his 40s watches this.
Yeah, it's not an easy message to trace.
Yeah. And what's wrong with that?
I'm just saying it's not going to make it. It's going to make it so because immediately I was like, oh yeah, of course that went up because those are the people who can afford to have Netflix. Like it's hard to be under 18 and be like, yeah, let me buy Netflix at what's it like $20 a month now or something, just to watch Raw. But if I'm like, if I have my parents' account, then I could go ahead and just switch over and I would just be counted under their, like, it'll probably show there's more women watching it now too. Just because it's like, hey, somebody's in their mom's account. More people are going to be doing that. Yeah. And I bet the rates of women watching are going to be showing like, hey, we got like 3 times as many women watching now. Like maybe not. You may just have the same families watching on somebody else's account.
So
I think to your point, just to get this out, it will probably be just on the main Netflix account because the content is on it. Certainly from my end in the UK, it had a 12 rating on Raw. So I can't imagine they'd put it amongst the cartoon versions.
I have gone and made a Netflix kids account on my Netflix, which I now can't remove, just to double check that.
No more things to come, maybe.
As he just docks himself.
It's in good place because it's next to my account that's got a picture of John Cena on it. So, yeah, I can fully confirm that on a kids account, it comes up with the most popular thing as Peppa Pig, not as Monday Night Raw. So
I'd like to see Peppa Pig versus John Cena on the retirement tour.
Well, yes, you gotta wait till WrestleMania for that one.
In a steel cage.
Maybe we could do a 2K Royal Rumble.
Yes.
So that'll be pretty fun, actually.
Because I'm sure somebody's already made that on Created Superstars.
And maybe for an AEW event, we can all download the AEW game and play it.
Hey,
That's an idea.
They have a Battle Royale mode.
I heard Tony Khan says they're still supporting it.
I don't know, but I did reach the max rank on it. It was really good fun.
They might be adding new characters soon.
They did that, but you probably have to buy them.
I got it for free 1 month for PlayStation, and then I played it for like 2 days, and I was like, yo, this is horrible. I would rather play No Mercy, but actually back in like the 90s when I played it the first time. Like,
bring it back.
Yeah, take me back. Give me a Nintendo 64 immediately, and maybe I'll have a little bit more fun.
2 seconds.
It's just weird playing the old game style on the new system, and you're like, I don't know if you guys are old enough to like remember that, but yeah, exactly, like
PlayStation 2 original.
Exactly. Like, I don't know if you guys remember how older games used to play, but older games had weird mechanics that like new games don't have. And when you go back to playing those older styles, you're like, what the heck is this?
Like the hold run button and stuff like that.
Exactly.
It doesn't feel right.
That's what AEW is. It's like older style in a new system. And it's like, who likes these controls? Just do the new thing. Like, what are you doing here?
It's a new game. Yes, it is.
I have a little counter argument. They always said it was an arcadey type game. So if you don't take it too serious, then it's okay. I'm not saying it's great because it really is. I bought it and it's terrible. But
you paid for it. Oh wow.
Yeah. It was on sale, so I can be a little bit forgotten about. I heard a lot about the Battle Royale mode, which I did really enjoy for a while. But yeah, I think the argument is, and I've seen Cultaholic do videos on it and other wrestling channels and stuff, and they've said if you take it too seriously, you will hate it. But if you don't, you'll just see it as an arcade game that you could have spent £1 on back when you were younger, and you would have been more than happy with it. But yeah, we've kind of got topic there.
I was going to say the part I didn't like the most was the belts, how the belts looked on people. So that's just a personal thing. It just didn't look good enough.
If anyone's going to go away and play it, I recommend that you really don't. So, apart from if you want like something fun that you really don't have to concentrate on, and you just want to hit people on the head with all different weapons, and the circle's getting smaller, and you're thinking, well, what's going to happen here? So it's quite fun, but you'll probably get bored after 1 or 2 games. So.
Well, back in the grave I go, guys. I'm going to head out before I vomit on camera. But I hope you guys have a great day. Have a great show, all right?
Yeah, take it easy.
Thank you.
So, gone slightly off topic there, but I will cross out one of my things that just says Hulk Hogan picture and discussion. So, I think that was more than enough of that. So, we'll start it off, like we've just said, with that promo that I'm sure you all saw beforehand. But I do think still, having seen it before, I was unfortunate enough to be still up when it was live. I didn't want to be, but I thought it was one of those things, right? So subconsciously, I know this is a massive moment that I really don't want to miss live. Yeah. But you have work the next day and you think to yourself, well, it's going to be a really hard slog tomorrow if I'm up. But then subconsciously, the back of your brain's thinking, but what if? What if you could stay up and watch this amazing night of wrestling? So I think I tried to go to sleep, but then I ended up didn't. So at 1:20, when The Rock came out, I thought, please let me go to bed soon. But I'm really did thankful that I saw that first bit because if you haven't seen it, there was like a massive, great big curtain. I can only describe it over the ring that projected onto it was the kind of a little mini history tour, wasn't it? Almost bringing that all from way back when to what we have now. And as I was sat watching it, because of the atmosphere and the way that the arena was made so I think on the seats on the kind of to where they were sat on the little sides of the seat that keeps the seat together, I believe that the light was there, and then when it went dark, all that you could basically see was the light. And then, so yeah, I just sat watching that. I thought, you know what? Like, how amazing would it be to be there and say that you have seen something that's going to be talked about for the longest time? Because not only is it the first people to really give this live streaming thing a go on subscription, I don't know what you can call them now, subscription providers. Yeah. But yeah, I was sat watching it and I had goosebumps and I was sat in my bedroom at 1:00 in the morning. So
were you going like this?
No, fortunately, someone in the group chat was still up. Ryan was on nights, so I was able to share that kind of moment with him because everybody else, for their own good and what we should be doing, was asleep. So yeah, so that kind of dropped. Triple H was in the ring. That was the obvious. Shortly after, The Rock came out. He was greeted with a massive pop, as he always is. Much like they did that on purpose. So he then went on. This is where it gets a little bit weird. He then went on, not really to say a great deal other than welcome and thanking Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns at the same time, which to this day and probably for the rest of history, we'll never quite know why that was done. But I think that was done to write him out for a very long time, just so that they don't have to think of what to do next with him. Yes. I don't know what both of your thoughts are. I don't mind which order this goes in.
My thoughts are very minimal on it. I just saw it as directionless. Yeah, it's a way of writing him out. I don't know how they're going to handle the rebound of it, though. I thought they could have just kept him out for a while longer. It was still kind of like boiling over from the previous interactions. But, yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see how it plays out. What do you think, Lee?
I thought, well done for completely ripping up the whole WrestleMania storyline. Great job. Well done.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't even thought of what Sam said there about writing Rock off, because apparently he's not working Mania. I guess he's got a movie to film or something. And yeah, I understand his schedules and stuff like that. And yeah, okay, we might have to go in a different direction. But I'm watching it thinking, well, hang on a minute, didn't you just rip this guy apart in a parking lot? Didn't you whip him with a weightlifting belt? Didn't you just headline the opening night of WrestleMania trying to rip this guy apart? And then the second night, didn't you try and screw him over again? And it's like, it doesn't make sense. And then it's like, it felt like all of a sudden he's just turned face for no reason. And then he tried to spin it again on NXT. He said, I'm still the final boss and all this sort of rubbish. Well, what was he doing? I don't understand.
I don't know, really. I suppose there's a reason we're not in the heads of the people that write the shows. I do think it would be an amazing show, though, if we were. I think it would be just fantastic. I think it'd be the most off the walls, like, mad thing that you've ever seen, and I think that would.
If they're half the writers, Gunnar Lee Mead's on next. Hit me up,
guys. I just think it would be great. Imagine coming to this show and giving like a massive spoiler in 2 weeks' time. This is going to happen, and they'd be like,
they'd never bring out Lee.
Hit
my music.
I don't know what you'd be there. It could be that. This is where I should have got the Shawn Michaels video.
Yes. You've got to see it. The people need to see it. And he's thinking, what Shawn Michaels video?
I once received a video in my WhatsApp chat that was paying homage to Shawn Michaels and his wonderful entrances of the past. But yeah, moving swiftly on from that, you might see it at some stage.
You're gonna have to definitely source it. I need to see that.
Oh yeah,
yes. Do it for the people.
It will be going front and center at some stage. I've just got to catch him off guard a little bit when I do it.
I'm ready.
So the first match of the night was Solo and Roman. Was the match of the night by far for me. I was going to put moment of the night, but then as I was writing my notes, I thought, well, it's really not. So I went with match. So it was dominated by Solo Sikoa, but then we had the madness that was the last sort of, I don't really know how long.
The last quarter. That would go with.
Yeah. So we had the late interference from Tamatonga and then Jacob Fatu, which was then countered by Sami Zayn and
Cody as well.
Yeah, Jay. So we'll come on to that next line. You're stealing me notes.
Sorry, mate.
It's all good. KO then attempted to end years of frustration by dropping Roman Reigns to the stunner, but Cody Rhodes swiftly came in and made the save. Roman then dodges a Samoan spike and hits a spear to win. After, to create this madness even more, Rock then emerged to place the Ulafala around his neck. I don't know. I think it's probably best we move on from that last moment. But yeah, I do think that what that was a fantastic start. Oh my God, what's going on today? Everyone's joining and I'm not expecting this now.
3, 2, 1.
You might have forgotten about this soul. You have seen him a couple of times. But due to unfortunate circumstances, he is not very often able to enter. But it's good to have you. How are you?
Hold on. Are you talking to me?
Yes.
This is the curtain internet. Yeah, I'm good. I managed to finally get on one, so I'm gassed to be here.
Gassed to be here, I got. I think. You sound a little bit like you're under the water.
Yeah, I did think this would happen.
Oh, that's a bit better. We'll keep you there. But yeah, I guess you've missed a lot. We've talked a lot about some not very good characters, but I will ask you the first question, I guess, that I asked everyone, was that has so far this whole thing exceeded your expectations, or is there still lots of way to go?
What are we talking about? Sorry, I've just just come in. Sorry.
No, that's all good. In terms of this whole Netflix era of WWE, how is the first week of streaming been for you, I guess? Has it exceeded expectations, or do you think there's a long way to go?
I mean, I'm pretty happy with it so far. I guess the job worked. I've now resubscribed to Netflix, which I haven't done in like 2 years. So far, the back catalogue's good. Been working my way through some stuff, getting ready for the Royal Rumble. I think tonight is more important than last week in my eyes, because yeah, you can put a great show on once in a while, but can the caliber of that show live up second, third, fourth, fifth week? I want to see that kind of energy and that production put into every week, not just 1 week.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because we were having this conversation off stream. I'm just going to mute you while you're not speaking, Jordan, if that's okay, just because there's a little bit of an echo. We had this conversation. They've set themselves a benchmark, which I'm not actually sure that they can obtain each week. I really hope I'm wrong. Obviously, they had to go all out, but I think in some senses they could have set themselves up to fail, because it's really important now. I hadn't thought about it like you've just said. So it's one good thing having, like we said, the 4.9 million viewers worldwide that they had, but that was because they had all the advertising. That's not going to be able to last forever. So the only thing you've now got is how much you can deliver each week to keep people engaged. So that's yet to be seen. I like I say, I really hope I'm wrong, but it's one of those ones that hopefully, I think as we go on to SmackDown, we'll be able to talk about that and how that's going to work out, because obviously, in order again to keep both fans invested in the whole picture, you've got to kind of be interested in both of them. So I think that the biggest challenge is the Friday nights and keeping that with 3 hours and keeping that engaging. But yeah, obviously we just spoke about the first match. I am going to put it out there now. I've had to think about this, and people are not going to like this. But I now think, after the years and years and years and years and years of this storyline happening, I have wanted it to come to a natural end for quite a while. But I feel now that you're almost there, if not stopping. Because what are you going to do? Create 2 more and 6 more? All of you probably won't agree with me that. I to be honest, I saw Lee's face, so I'm going to come to you first.
I think it's just setting it up for the likes of Tamatonga and I'm afraid I've forgotten the other one, but I think it's just setting up for especially with the interference that happened in that matchup. It's only just going to linger and go on and on. I think. I'm afraid.
What's going to happen? Are we going to have that forever? Am I going to get to
now together forever?
Where does it end for you?
I could see it going at least that sort of rivalry all the way up to. Well, where are we now? We're in January now. It's going to go up through at least and through to Mania, easily.
Oh yeah, that'd be fine with.
Yeah, I would say that's. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it is coming towards an end, but then it's because you've got the other lads that have come in. Does lead to sort of other different matches that we haven't seen for Bloodline versus Bloodline, isn't it? So, and maybe so the fact that we haven't seen much of Roman against the newer guys really, other than that just interaction on Monday night. We'll see. Who's to say? Bear in mind, this is just my first time watching Raw, right, for a long time completely. So maybe you guys think differently. Let's throw it to someone else.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to do. So I'm going to go to Jordan first of all.
I'm kind of bloodline burnt out right now. I've seen a lot of rumors about Zila Fatu joining as well. My question would be the same as you. When is it going to stop? When can they stop adding members to the bloodline? You know, I don't want it to get to a point where, oh no, not another member. I would personally like to see them sort of mass implosion, and it's like instead of bloodline civil war, it's just chaos, and all the bloodline members are fighting each other. I'd like to see some sort of implosion, and it's just all carnage. I think that would be great to watch. But I can't remember his name, but the Samoan werewolf, or whatever they call him, Jacob. Jacob. Yeah, he's the one. I mean, if any of them's going to have a great solo career in the WWE, it's going to be him.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
really impressive.
And I'm pleased it's not just me that thinks like that. Handing it over as well. What are your thoughts? Anything different to what's already been said?
Not particularly. I mean, yeah, it's a massive launching pad for Tama Tonga and most importantly, Jacob Fatu. I've seen his entire run throughout MLW, and like people have been waiting for the moment that Jacob Fatu gets to demonstrate his immense ability. I think personally, like, yeah, I think most people are bloodlined out if you've been following it for a while. It's been going on for so long now. But I think it could make sense for them building the new bloodline into something where Jacob Fatu usurps it. You get actual original bloodline versus this new incarnation of a bloodline. And then it could go into all-out chaos, like Jordan said, which would be very, very interesting to watch. But it's definitely something that's, while it still gets a reaction, use it to get a rub off on as many people as possible, and then hopefully nurture them further going forward. I mean, it's got to end at some point because there's a bunch of solo careers, tag careers, all kinds of stuff that's going to happen here. So, but we'll just see. Got no idea as to the duration, but hopefully they don't prolong it too much longer, because I feel like they're running out of ideas overall to the narrative.
Well, here's the thing, because you talked about maybe breaking them up. Well, what's the next major pay-per-view coming up, guys? It's Royal Rumble, right? And every man for himself in that matchup. Could you see any bloodline turning on each other in the Royal Rumble match?
I think it's potentially, as much as I hate to say that, I don't know how they build that up between now and February. You've got a limited amount of time. Yeah. Because of course, as much as I'm now wanting to end, if you've had something gone on for so long, if you then fail it towards the end, you've got potential of people to go, well, it was great for the number of years, but it was horrendous how it ended. So I think they've got to be very close with that. Jordan's idea sounds more like an idea for Mania, to be honest. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think that if they've got 2 nights, that builds one of the main events for one of the nights. So yeah, I think that's definitely worth thinking about. I hadn't thought about that before, but I do think that's a good move to go. But yeah, again, like I say a lot, if that now happens, I'm going to be putting a lawsuit in because it was said here before it was done. So yeah. But moving on, actually, when I was writing these notes, I think this was probably the favourite moment of the night. It wasn't particularly spectacular. It wasn't particularly anything that we didn't expect. But John Cena coming out just made me feel happy inside. It was one of those moments.
Bless you. To my Jordan.
I know. I don't know why I stopped there, to be honest. I stopped for way too long, and then I didn't know what to say. So, yeah, obviously he didn't really say much, apart from that. Obviously, we know he's already in the Royal Rumble, and that he's going for his 17th world title if he was to win that Royal Rumble, which would make him the most prolific champion. So, as I was writing this, I suddenly thought how great that would be, but how anticlimactic the Royal Rumble would then become. So, I don't actually know if I want to follow through what I thought while I was writing the notes down. And I think I was potentially swayed just by that one fact that I found at the end. So, I guess I then thought, well, he's got the whole year, so you can have a moment where that still happens, which I think is probably the better option out of the two, because I think it would look rather daft if he was to win the Royal Rumble, go and win the title, and then hold it for a little bit and just kind of give it up then. Whereas if you kind of, well, as horrendous as it sounds, finish the story again, there's a way that you can write a story into that as well. But I'm not sure that story's the Royal Rumble, to be honest. I think it would be a massive waste of their first Royal Rumble on Netflix. That's going to be their chance. I think probably even more than the Raw and the SmackDowns, it's going to be their chance to get people on board. So I think they've got to be very savvy with how they do it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, here's the thing: you've got Cena up until December, right? And yeah, you could have him go out in the Royal Rumble, and you could have him go out and win it. But then it really sort of burns the story quite early, doesn't it? And you could have him. He doesn't necessarily need that WrestleMania title match. I'm not sure anyone wants that particularly. I completely concur. That was a long word for me, wasn't it? I concur with the fact that having Cena there just to pop the crowd and just makes you feel quite happy, really, because he got a good reaction. But yeah, I think there's if it's a big if they are going to take the official sort of world champion sort of status off of Flair. Yeah, I'd do it a little bit later down the line in the year. Not quite now.
Just to backtrack a little bit, I think that was probably one of the first times live on YouTube that you've actually used a curse word, Lee.
It might have been.
I thought that was quite a
Maybe you should make a short about that, and I'll be quite happy to endorse it. When I called Hogan that word,
yeah. I was really surprised. As you said it, I almost kind of shut down my laptop and was like, "Yeah, that's stream finished now."
That's it. YouTube done.
That's it. It's completed. But I have now in capital letters that straight after all of this happening, we had. Actually, I think it's the second worst kept secret in professional wrestling, because the first one we actually physically saw live in that Ricochet was going to AEW, and this is probably the second, if not probably maybe joint. Obviously, the merch T-shirts before we came online have already been found in the archives of the website, ready to go live when he debuts, which is a little bit sad. I think it's just one of those things. Let him debut before you announce something like that. It's not going to make it any better if you can buy his T-shirt before he comes out. The same way as it's just annoying, really.
Without sounding like a complete idiot, are you referring to Penta?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Here's the funny thing I've got to say about this one. So you got Gable, right, going up to the general manager. Oh, I want to fight a luchador. I mean, can you make it any obvious? Even Hunter in the press conference, I don't know if you saw the press conference post Raw. I actually, you shake your head. I saw the press conference too. He's like, yeah, you all know who it's going to be.
Yeah,
and I believe that'll be him debuting tonight. I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite exciting. I've heard a lot about Penta, and it'd be interesting to see it. So I saw a hand gesture there, which I didn't.
Oh, that's Penta's hand gesture. Yeah, no, he's one of the best to do it. He's a very exciting acquisition for sure.
I've never seen him. I've just heard a little bit. So I'm excited to see Raw tonight. And what he's got to do, and he couldn't be in better hands in Gable, really, could
he? Yeah, I'm not really sure I'll follow that, to be honest. I'm going to pass it across. Is there anything you would like to add about him? That obviously, because I know you'll have more knowledge than potentially all of us will have. Is there any words of wisdom that you would like to kind of tell us what to expect?
I don't really have anything wisdom-wise for it. I just feel like it would have been it would have been way better to have him come out at the Rumble. I feel like I understand that. I'm glad he didn't debut on the Netflix premiere. He also didn't need to be in a match with Rey Mysterio. He didn't need that. That's great. I mean, him and Gable will put on a clinic. But the Rumble, that would have been something. And the Rumble just gives someone like 30 seconds, 45 seconds to do a couple of cool spots. It gets talked about. He could have eliminated someone to set a feud up there. I don't know too much about him. I've watched a lot of clips of him and Ray Phoenix. I think when he eventually comes as well, they're gonna be a real force. And finally, I just hope the WWE utilizes these luchadors, because they destroyed Lucha House Party, Gran Metalik, and Kalisto. And I can't remember who the last one was, but they just got absolutely done.
Yeah, I never really say that anymore, because I've said it so many times, in that I hope they take care of them, and 95.5% of the time I'm proved completely wrong. So yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, tomorrow night is going to be the exciting one. Everybody's obviously still going to go wild, as they will, but time will tell into how and what their plans are with him, and who they're going to get him to face. And yeah, it's again really important, I think, because this has been something that's been built for quite a while. And if I think they've done it to so many people that it doesn't really bear much resemblance anymore. But hopefully, this is an exception, is the word. But yeah, to quickly run through the rest of Raw, the women's title match, for me, I know we had this conversation at the weekend. It felt really rushed. The correct result was the ending. As I'm having my thoughts, I don't really know what happens from here in terms of just those two. I'm not sure whether they'll carry on with that or curveball. Obviously, the ending was tainted before they went on air. It was leaked on a screen inside the arena about what was going to happen. So whoever did that would have got a stern telling off, I'm sure. But even looking at the moment, again, in line with that segment, he kind of came out. It was fantastic. Did one little ride around the ring on his bike, and then got to the top of the ramp. So back to back with Rhea Ripley, that was really cool. But at the same time, what shortly followed after that, I would have taken that moment out, had Undertaker on the microphone, and I think we'd be walking away a lot happier.
I've got to say, I found this really, really weird. I'll be really brief. I found that moment really, really odd. We already seen Michelle McCall in the blimmin' crowd, so why the heck is Undertaker coming down, stealing Rhea's spotlight at that moment in time? I love Taker, and I would have definitely had him on Raw. At that moment, come on, you're going to leave with me and we'll put Rhea on the bike and we'll do the old thing, right? That just, is this a bit weird or what? Your missus in the crowd, mate.
Yeah. I guess it made me, as you mentioned that, I'm going to pass it over to Hamza. What do you think of? So obviously in the UK we have the beauty of apparently there being no commercials. So in those commercial spots, they had their current roster and the other promotions' current rosters be sat in the crowd as if they were special guests. They then followed that up with some of the roster in kind of their own booth, half of them going crazy and the other half not looking very happy. I found that rather odd. What do you think that they need to do in these little breaks instead of what we got in that first episode going forward?
I think the commercial spots and the break spots are always the hardest to like retain the on-demand viewer or like who everyone is watching from home, because it's completely different when you're in the actual crowd and the ambience of a live event. Somehow the energy always seems to stay upward, and I don't think all of that translates as well to camera. But I think the biggest problem is actually the over-reliance on finding something external to the action to do during those break spots, or to showcase in like picture-in-picture formats and stuff like that. I think when you take the attention off of what is actually happening in the ring, it should be able to speak for itself as like a piece of art. You should be able to see them go into a break spot, they're both like down and out or something, someone takes control, or like even if you get the full commercial and you cut back afterwards, you're still in the relatively same spot, or the power dynamics, you can understand where the match went. It doesn't have to detract from the actual action that's happening just because you're missing out on the commentary or how the narrative that they want to push. You should still be able to, infer your own opinion as an individual watching it. I think that's the main problem. They tried too hard in showing, okay, cool, this is a break spot. It's very clearly a break spot, instead of the suspension of disbelief. Imagine like they cut back one day after the commercial and say, yo, the match is over, this is what just happened. It was like some kind of crazy roll up or some kind of spot. Next week you elaborate on that and it becomes a bigger angle. Like I believe that there's more money there in terms of like the suspension of disbelief that makes wrestling a whole thing, opposed to just having everything very formulaic in a building block kind of scenario where you see his part A that links to part A, his part B that links to part B and C and C, and this is the same cookie cutter every time, because that's how you make your fans lapse. That's how people skip out on entire moments of wrestling. Like no one has been a consistent wrestling fan throughout and managed to maintain it, because there's always parts where you're like, yeah, you kind of see the template at some point if you get super invested. Yeah. So I feel like that's the main problem with break spots, specifically in the modern climate. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up, because it was very apparent in that match in particular. I don't know if it was handled the best. It's cool. You get to see all of the people and like, oh yeah, it's like they're kind of like, where's Wally? Like who's who? But you can't do that every week, and you can't do that with every match.
Yeah, they've already.
That tickled me. That's good. I like that.
It's funny you say that though, because they've already done that in one of their back catalogue things that they've done, and they've done superstar profiles. So the big names that they want people to be on board with, if they don't know already, they've kind of done little packages for each of them. I haven't watched it. There's no use in me watching it at all. I probably know as much, or if not more, about that superstar that they put that package in. But I know me and Lee spoke a little bit about it, and I wonder, not the heavy use of it, but I wonder if they could use it to their advantage and have little dark moments that the people in the US won't get, and not to use that all the time. But I certainly think that's going to a lot better than a random interview with The Miz, where he reminisces on a Royal Rumble that happened at a WrestleMania that happened when I was back in secondary school. So
WrestleMania 27, awful show.
It's not one of their brightest moments. It's not going to be in their Hall of Fame of WrestleManias by any stretch. But I don't think we need to be reminded of it a good, 15, maybe more years later.
I know what you're talking about. Michael Cole versus Jerry the King Lawler was like a 7-star banger. I think Meltzer talked about it himself. He was like, that was the match.
The kicker at the end of it was the reverse decision. It just made it magnificent.
Yeah, I just hope that they, I hope they get better at it. But obviously, if they don't, I can make more jokes about it. So
here's the thing. It's the first live one on Netflix. They've got a new structure with their adverts and stuff. Let's cut them a little bit of slack, because I think that is a very minor sort of critic to have on a show that widely was excellently produced, I think.
Oh yeah, there's no way that I can do a stream without poking a little bit of fun though.
Oh, of course.
If I was to sit here and tell you exactly what happened, I don't think anybody would tune into it, to be honest. So obviously the next part was a little bit weird. We had a video package of Logan Paul saying that it's now no longer his side hustle, and that he's 100% into this thing that we call professional wrestling.
Right.
Obviously, it's somebody that's also had a shaded past, but this time I'm thinking to myself, I think that's a massive lie. Because you can't just suddenly stop all your other commitments that you've got as a social media influencer, or whatever you might call him, and put yourself 100% into wrestling. So I think that one was a little white lie, to be honest, but obviously we'll find that out. Again, I could be proven completely wrong. The next match was skippable, although it was okay. I think the crowd had massive exhaustion from all that they'd seen so far. But I suppose
you got to remind me
part of the Jay and Drew match was Travis Scott coming down, smoking some questionable stuff, which I really like.
PG, was it?
We better get that entrance to the next 2K game. Like, I saw that on Reddit. Someone was saying that. I was like, yeah, that makes some factions a little bit more zesty.
I really liked it for what it was. I know that's not going to come across very well in some spheres, but I really liked it for what it was. It was kind of one of those moments that the people that have been watching wrestling for a very long time, they could kind of look on it and go, do you know what? That's a little kind of nod back to times that have been.
Yeah.
I counter that by saying I don't think that was anything that WWE did, because Travis Scott is Travis Scott, and if they told him no, he would have said, well, I really don't care. I am Travis Scott. I do what I want. So I don't think it was in WWE's interest at all, because I don't think they would have let it happen if so. Apparently I wasn't there myself, but apparently the arena did smell rather suspicious, and obviously for the younger viewers that were in the crowd, that's not at all great.
Can
But
You eating it up.
I am hastened to say that if you were younger during the Attitude Era, then that would have just been the price you paid for taking your child to it, wouldn't it? So that was kind of a moment that I liked.
It was different.
It was. It was.
And I've got to say, to see Michael Cole jumping on the table was quite funny as well.
Yeah, it's almost like that eccentric nature of Pat McAfee is kind of making him and forcing him to come out of this shell and be the silliness that is Pat McAfee as well. I thought that was great.
And I don't know if Cole was doing it deliberately, but to be a beat off on the old thing, that I thought was hilarious.
Yeah, I guess I've got a question for you, Jordan, that I wrote up. Obviously, the ring has been a point of debate. I don't mind the bit being in the middle, but I don't know what you think about the bits around the side and the ring in general. I thought that was a bit much.
I mean, it doesn't really bother me. It's not taken away from the reason why we're watching the show. To be honest, the only thing that I didn't like is Hulk Hogan's crappy American beer brand. They shouldn't be having anything to do with that man. But I mean,
this man. Boo!
I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm not surprised the UFC do it with the octagon. It's
the same.
Good shot.
It's not that deep. I don't mind. The only weird thing is the dark ring canvas on SmackDown. That's throwing me off a bit, but it's not that deep.
Yeah, I know it's not. I just wanted to ask you a question, to be honest, because I've asked the other two loads of questions and yourself not many. So that was a perfect opportunity to ask it. But yeah, I guess with the UFC kind of merger and stuff like that, it was always going to happen. I think in sports, that's the most. I don't think you can see much of the octagon apart from the middle. It's probably like the heaviest branded sports ring by an absolute mile. I'm just slightly disappointed that the dream that we were sold with just the one in the middle. We got used to the one in the middle, didn't really care about it anymore, and then obviously first Raw of Netflix, everybody's watching. So it would have been highest bidder wins, but it really doesn't need it. Like, one was enough. The rest, I think you could have left. But again, I've got zero say in that.
At least they've got no excuses when they start talking about women budget cuts and releasing people.
Yeah.
Because it's all about the money. You've got all their sponsors all over the ring. So they can't use that as an excuse to get rid of talent anymore.
No. Don't get me started on the prices of tickets and stuff, else we'll be here all night. So we had the main event. Again, I was having conversations over the weekend and said I think that by that time I felt really fatigued. I've never had to watch a 3-hour long episode of Raw and watch every minute of it unless I chose to, which is very rare. So I did go back and kind of watch it, and I saw it much better, not having the fatigue of everything that's gone on and thinking, oh my God, the notes I'm going to have to write for this is huge. So, it was a great first chapter of the story. I think it led them to be able to do many more matches and many more promos together, which obviously we'd love to see. So it was a great show of each other's finishes that are used against each other. And the pedigree on the announce table was really good. And then the introduction of Seth's knee injury as well as he did that move.
Yeah.
Obviously, CM Punk won the match, and that kind of sets it up, and however they see fit now. So, yeah, that was it. I've gone over the viewership and stuff, and that it was probably one of the best episodes of Raw. It just brings that bigger conversation of, yeah, how do we keep going at that pace? I don't think it's possible. Hopefully they go at that pace for a couple of weeks and then kind of slow it down a little bit, and we just don't see a drop off a cliff. But we shall find that out.
One thing I felt a bit weird on the show: the world champion wasn't on the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Gunther has had such a run in the company, hasn't he? The record sent in on the IC championship, and now they're the heavyweight champion, and never appeared on the show. I thought was a bit of a shame. I could have done with seeing the world champion in rather than Hogan, to be fair. Just gonna put that out there. One other thing I wanted to say is the finish on Punk versus Seth. I thought was beautiful. It might have been replayed from an AEW match. You guys might know that better than I would. But hitting that GTS, and then when Rollins hit the rope and then went back into that fireman carry position into the GTS, I thought was actually beautiful. I really liked that finish. It might have been done before, but I thought it was really well done. And I thought it's funny because you look at it as a 3-hour show and a 4-match card, but it didn't feel like that. I felt thoroughly entertained out the whole show. Really, I mean, I'm literally nitpicking on one or two things, but as a general show, I actually loved it. I really enjoyed the whole show without getting bored of it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm gonna fly through SmackDown a little bit, I think, because I think I'd rather talk about NXT because I think that has bigger future implications to what might happen. So obviously the start was a bit crazy. Paul Heyman came out, and I'm really pleased he got his moment in the spotlight over both in the first week. More than deserves every second of the pop that he gets every time that he comes out. So obviously he came out with an eye to Roman winning and telling Cody that he's coming back for the championship, basically. Obviously, in all that Cody's in is all that in Kevin Owens is in as well. So he kind of comes out, says some little things about him, and he jumps over the barrier and goes to get him. The bit that it kind of develops a little bit is when Paul Heyman leaves, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga come out, and it's just him and them. Obviously, Jimmy Uso comes out with a save, but then it's taken down. Cody then comes back in to drive them all out. So again, it was kind of the same that we've seen, just changed a little bit to fit obviously the ladder match that they're having. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven was next. Although many people will probably say it's average, I really enjoyed it because I didn't really expect much from it. So Chelsea did retain that one. We then had a tag team match between Los Garzas and Pretty Deadly, which Los Garzas won. And I've just put they've got great potential. The next match was completely ruined by the disqualification ending. I do think they'll do it again, I hope, and give them an actual match that they deserve together. I remember messaging you on the train home and saying, I think this is going to be great. And then, yeah, that happened.
Would you like to give us some names, Sam? Because just for context.
Yeah, of course. So Shinsuke Nakamura faced up against LA Knight for the title.
Right.
And it was ruined by a disqualification ending.
Okay.
I personally disagree. I thought the DQ actually amplified it. Only because it's another launching pad for Fatu. Like, he's just getting involved in so much right now. It's great to see that. Like, that's kind of always been Bloodline's gimmick in a sense. They just sticking their nose into everything, trying to run the whole thing. But it also, I mean, anyone who saw like the finish of that match, like just before it got into the DQ, saw that LA Knight had it like won, and it still keeps the feud going. It keeps them both fresh without, like, it gives Nakamura more of a hold onto that, and it embraces like more of the heel. I'm sure I'm gonna see on like Botchamania or something, someone's gonna have edited up something of that shot of Nakamura walking past the camera, like as like the Bloodline are just beating down LA Knight as it's going on. But that's a feud that you can still get a good amount of mileage of, because that is, you know, it's a good matchup. So I think it kind of protects both of the performers, while also just, here's Jacob Fatu, he's more of this guy that everyone wants to see right now. So I personally thought it delivered, but I can understand why the opinion could be had by some that it was ruined with a DQ, because obviously it's a great match. But I think they're just going to keep trying to up themselves, and that's going to be one of those feuds. Hopefully, if they keep it going, we can talk about for a while.
With the DQ finish, that's a good way of extending a feud, isn't it? So, yeah, you probably see a bit more Shinsuke versus LA coming up. They could even go to the Rumble, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see this kind of new hard exterior. I'm going to take you all down, Shinsuke Nakamura, because obviously as he came out of NXT, he kind of became somewhat of a face for a while.
Yeah.
He was loved by everyone, and that's not your typical kind of heel. So it was nice to see that they actually went, you know what, like what? Yes, we know who he is, but what can we do different to make it feel like a new superstar? So hopefully we should carry on. Also, okay, I'm gonna pass it over to Jordan, because
What were you passing over to me?
were the war. I'm gonna answer the question. I'm gonna ask you to answer the question that you've just asked me. Were they on Raw? SmackDown really shown. Oh no, I don't think you really need to tell us any more about that. Really, anything to add?
Oh yeah, I'll just say what I said to just in the chat there. Just going back onto Lee's statement about Gunter. There was two lots of champions we were missing on Raw. We had, you know, the War Raiders have just come back. They've just won their titles back. Yeah. They had no showing. They had no showing whatsoever. Another great champion that's just not shown completely. What was that?
They were shown in the crowd, I believe.
Yeah, they were there. So, you know, for new champions.
Yeah.
That's a good point. The fact you brought it up, even I forgot about the War Raiders, and this has just happened. Like that isn't the best showing.
Not good, is it?
No, it's not.
And then SmackDown really just showing tag team wrestling at its greatest, which I think SmackDown has always done. But yeah, it was just a real shame not to see the War Raiders on Raw as well. So just wanted to
let's hope they'll be on tonight's show, because I would imagine you have to bear in mind they had to fit in Rock promo time, they had to fit in Hogan promo time. So let's hope we see a bit more in the ring tonight. That's probably what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe it's all part of the plan, and they're just keeping some back. Yeah, maybe it's part of that bigger plan. Right, what can we do to make this better? Let's hope that's the case. So obviously we had then a tag match between A-Town Down Under and Motor City Machine Guns. It was kind of a little bit of a mismatch, but I can see why they've done it. They kind of want to build Motor City Machine Guns to be their tag team, I think, which is really positive. I can't wait to see more of those. We then had what was the most done thing at the moment after every title win, a celebration of the tournament. It never quite goes to plan. ended up being a number 1 contender match set for obviously this week now for the first defense of Tiffany Stratton's title. That was between Bayley, Bianca, Naomi, and Nia. So that ended kind of predictably in a way that Bayley won it. But that storyline, we shall see what happens next to it. We then had a rather forgettable main event, I think. Very much like how we would have expected it to go. Kevin Owens came out to attack Cody Rhodes. Jimmy ended up alone to fight them all. Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga took over. Jacob Fatu hit a moonsault. And then that was pretty much it. So at the end, we got probably the coolest moment of that match when Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes kind of crashed through a table. But I don't know if this was just me watching it. It kind of looked like it wasn't meant to look like that at all. I don't know. I don't mind you.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think it was the cleanest. Yeah, no, Jordan, you got anything to add to it? Because you seem to be also agreeing.
I mean, I was just wanting to see someone get pile drive off it. I feel like he maybe went for a spear and just they got it completely wrong. It just looked like a nasty landing that could have injured someone.
Yeah, it was kind of like he thought, to me, it was kind of like he knew what was doing before he propelled himself off. But then in the process of doing that, he thought something different. And then it kind of combined the two to make him look like he just, I don't know. It was, I don't know how it looked really. It just looked, I don't know. Maybe it's because I watch so much that these little things that most wouldn't spot, I see. But yeah, it just didn't look, I don't think that's how they would have wanted it to be.
I think it was more like a timing issue with the spot, but yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose, I don't know, if somebody said to them, right, you've got this amount of time for this to happen. It's going to be right at the end of the show. Yes, we've got no time restraints now in terms of we can go over, but we want you to be able to do that really effectively and quickly. So, yeah, you don't have a clue really what goes on. So obviously that kind of runs up to where I want to be in terms of SmackDown. I guess it was kind of a SmackDown that very much reminisces of SmackDown. Moments of good, but then lots of things that aren't amazing. I guess that was where I kind of say it's going to take a while to get used to these 3 hours. I think they've got a bigger spot to fill there in terms of keeping people engaged in this Friday's worth of content. I think, unfortunately, when they had the 2 hours that we've had before this happened, that was maybe the right length. I feel for 3 hours, they maybe have to kind of stretch everything out. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of see on that. But yeah, I'm going to quickly go to NXT, and then I think I'm going to make the executive decision and say that anything else we haven't discussed will not be on tonight. So NXT New Year's Evil. I want to do a little bit less talking and pass it over to the people that have seen it. I know, Lee, you've seen it. I will be very bitterly disappointed if Jordan hasn't seen it. But yeah, I'm going to pass you across. I'll kind of go through, I'll give you the kind of reins, but I'll give you each match, and then whoever wants to answer that kind of go ahead. So the first match was between Roxanne Perez and Julia. I will say before anything else, I kind of called both of these matches. I think they lead to bigger things in terms of what happens at the next pay-per-views and stuff, but I'm going to shush now for a while. Pass it on to Jordan.
Yeah, I thought this was a great match. We all kind of knew it was coming. You know, Julia was destined for the top as soon as she set foot, and I think she's going to be one of these that we probably won't see in NXT for too long. You can see that just by the way she works. It's just a stepping stone for her. She is destined for the main roster. Great work. I think Roxanne Perez is incredible. Whatever Booker T did at his training school, he's done outstanding and found a real gem. I really enjoyed the match, but yeah, fully expected Julia to go over on this one. Lee?
Nice to hear Booker T's getting some positive things to be said about him, because his commentary was absolutely awful. But he must have done some terrific stuff with Roxanne. And this is my first real look at these ladies, to be honest, Roxanne Perez and Julia. I absolutely loved this match. Technically, it was so good. So many near falls and submissions. I really enjoyed the back and forth on it. They were given plenty of time at the start of the show on it. And yeah, really enjoyed the ending. Didn't care for the interference near the end of it, to be honest. But it all leads to a bigger story, I'm sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I think it's got to be said. I think Roxanne Perez has had an over 200-day title run. Absolutely fantastic effort from her. Both these ladies are doing terrific wrestling, and so this is my first real look at them. I really enjoyed this matchup.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, I thought that was everything you could ever want in a women's world championship match. It was an absolute display of two up and coming talent at best of their game. Like, honestly, both of them just provide. I mean, but you can tell how versed and how much passion they have for the sport based on their work rate. It's insane. So it's great to see them both get elevated, and everyone, like, yo, did you see that NXT women's match? It's crazy. So for the people who haven't been invested in these stars, or like Lee's early introduction to these people, it's just a great showcase of talent, and that's everything you want from NXT. So perfect way to kick off the show as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I kind of echo all that. I think that, I don't know, I think on contrast, I know it's not going to happen, but on contrast, I probably think this deserved the actual main event of the night. But I do think, in contrast to both of the titles, I did say it's a prediction, not a spoiler, as Paul Heyman would say. I did say that both of those championship matches would happen, with the air into both of them, both of the losers being promoted up for respective men's and females Royal Rumble matches, which they more than deserve. But yeah, I guess as my other laptop dies that I've got my notes on, which is why I went off camera. Yeah, I'm going to try and think before my laptop loads up what the next thing was. I don't actually know, to be honest. I am going to do a complete shift, though. And I think we've all seen and heard about the promo that was at the end of the show. To add a little context to anybody that hasn't seen it, in that Ethan Page was talking with Ava and The Rock, basically saying what he's done over the last couple of weeks. Rock told him what to expect. Rock then said, I don't really know what I'm going to say when I go out there. And to Ava's reply, it was, you'll kind of know what you need to say when you get out there. What he said when he was out there, I'm not entirely sure. I wondered if it was me going crazy or not, or whether he was actually repeating himself every 5 minutes and telling us how long that he had left on the clock every 1 or 2 minutes at least.
You did 2 time checks, I think. Yeah, you're right.
I've never known, because obviously I wasn't a big fan of them bleeping out all the stuff on Raw, but obviously they've got to. But I've never known in the short length of time, I believe off the top of my head, it was something like 6 minutes he had in total. I've never known them to need to bleep a 6-minute promo as much as that was.
Too much tequila, Rock.
I guess I go round to all of you in my question of, do you think he had any idea what he was going to say at any point of that promo? Start on the reverse as last time.
I mean, I think he just phoned it in. He was like, it's NXT. These people are just going to cheer for The Rock. Boom, rolled up. He was just the most out of his head I think I've ever seen him. That's all I got to say. It didn't make any sense. It didn't help anyone. It didn't help The Rock. It didn't help NXT. It didn't help the company. It was just a complete waste of time. So, yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Any other further thoughts?
Go ahead, Jordan, you go.
I mean, where was The Rock, where the version of The Rock for the John Cena feud where his notes were written on his hand? He could have really done with that. I thought it was a waste of time. I don't like these promos that The Rock's cutting us. I guess this is board member corporate Rock. This is Dwayne Johnson. And if Dwayne Johnson never cuts a WWE promo again, I'll be happy. It wasn't needed. It took 6 minutes off someone that could have had a good match in 6 minutes. I wasn't a fan.
And I will absolutely concur with all of that. Absolutely nonsensical. He looked like he did not have a absolute Scooby-Doo. This is The Rock we're talking about, by the way, boys and girls. This is The Rock who's done some of the best promo work in WWE history, and he looked like he'd never cut a promo in his life. It reminded me, do you remember when he took the mick out of Triple H? Tonight, I'm going to step in the ring, and for 10 minutes, I'm going to say absolutely nothing. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It didn't help anybody. It didn't help Cody Rhodes. It didn't help NXT. It didn't help WWE. What the heck was that?
I think that's a good conclusion, to never have to talk about that ever again, to be honest. Which is where it should stay. So we had next up the Fatal 4-Way for the title.
It's just the North American.
It's the women's North American title.
Yeah.
So
got that out of the corner of my brain somewhere.
Yeah, I've not got on my notes whether that's next week or whether that's to be in the future. But that was between Kalani Jordan, Cora Jade, Stephanie Vacchio, and Lola Vice. I think it was just a good way to have all of those in one match. I still on, and I still fully believe it. I don't think there's anybody that's got a women's division with so much excitement like NXT at the moment. I've never seen so many talented female wrestlers on one show. So that was a good way to showcase them all, to make people aware of them. So that's the story on that one. I don't know if I said that Stephanie Vacco won. I probably did, but it's been a 1 hour and 44, and I don't really know anymore. Passing it over to Jordan, there was a 1 won 4 match for the Heritage Cup title that was won under questionable circumstances because Charlie Dempsey won it by DQ. Normally it's on 3 rounds, but this was just 1. What did you think about this one?
I'm going to be totally honest. I've just got no interest in the Heritage Cup at all. I like the idea of it. Currently, the Charlie Dempsey and Lexis King, I can't connect with the characters at all. I'm not a fan of the storyline. The Heritage Cup was great for NXT UK. It gave us something different. It isn't needed in NXT. So I'll be totally honest, I wasn't really paying too much attention during the match. That's about as far as I go for it. I would like to see Lexis King's character changed up a bit. I don't think it's quite working for me. But yeah, I haven't got anything too constructive, but I don't want to be too harsh on it just because of my views on the Heritage Cup.
Yeah, I do kind of think it was just, obviously they'd built up a story and it was one of these matches in the middle that some people would be excited about, some not. They could change it and say, oh, this is not normally what happens in the Heritage Cup, everybody. Normally it's 3 rounds, but because it's slightly different, it might have been an introduction for some people, but yeah, I don't think it was anything great. I think it was just to fill some time.
It was a bit of mid-card fodder, wasn't it, to be honest? It was indeed, it was my first look on these lads as well. I know who Dempsey is a little bit. Obviously, that's William Regal's boy, right? Right, and I could see a little bit of that sort of style in him, but it was a lot of nothing in the match, to be honest. It didn't feel like particularly exciting, and made him look a little bit silly because I think didn't he have the advantage and he's like numerically out there and he still lost the thing. So just a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when you spend months and months and months building up to a boxing fight, and the 2 people step into the ring, and it's over in 5 seconds, and you wondered why you spent all this time building it up.
Damn it, these real fights.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm going to go
scripted it better
to the main event. Hamza, did you see this before I asked you a question about it?
Yeah, I did.
Cool. I'm going to ask your thoughts on the triple threat match between Trick, Over, and Eddie Thorpe. Eddie Thorpe's entry was obviously in the air due to him not being believed this time that he was faking an injury, because beforehand he had faked an injury to get himself into a title match. So obviously that was up in the air. He eventually did turn up, but apart from that, I'm going to pass it over to you. On your
yeah, I thought it was. I'm not someone who's been keeping up with the week to week of every modern NXT. So I've seen the talent and I've got an overall idea as to the trajectory of how they're being booked and who's been placed on the cards and whatnot and where they're at. And I got to say, this was like, to me, quite a good showcase of like the upper division of like the NXT men's roster. It was a very surprising match, and like the pacing, I always find in like 3-way bouts, it's a very hard thing to master because there's obviously you got to get your spots in, but you also got to like have it alternate and kind of flow between the 3 people where you can believe the breakups and like all of like the high spots that they do in that format, but you can only do with 3 people that are all in it for themselves. I thought the match perfectly delivered on that, and it was engaging throughout. And I thought the result was also, they seem to just be going with what the NXT crowd wants, and they're trying to keep it as like tight to their core audience as possible, which you got to respect in wrestling, because how many times has trying to appeal to the wider demographics and a wider range of audiences just alienated the core wrestling fans who are into that talent specifically. So I feel like I think they did a really good job in delivering that story particularly. And yeah, it's a good match.
Yeah, I think I've been hyping on and on and on about Obafemi, and probably everyone on the channel has gone, well, actually, I don't really know if he's that good, Sam. Surely he's not. But I received a message, and after that, I'm gonna ask for your overall opinions, Lee, because I know you had some different thoughts to that I even had when you messaged. But I think the message today was, I'm just gonna get it up just to make sure I don't slander it at all.
Yeah.
You said to me that you like the look of Obafemi, big unit, lots of potential. So I was really pleased that somebody had seen me calling him a beast for weeks, and actually I was proven right.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with more. You know, it's like and you talk about pacing in a triple threat match. This was different. This was very different because you had Thorpe come out in the last knockings of it, right? And it gave Trick and it gave Obafemi a bit of time to do their thing. And actually, that part of the match I thought was really fun to watch. And then Thorpe comes in, and armed with the steel chair, no disqualifications and all that sort of stuff. And it's funny because that chair comes back for the finish of the matchup. And that was a bit weird in itself. I'll be honest. That's the one thing I didn't like. It was the finisher onto the chair, and then Thorpe suddenly sort of rolls out the ring for the 3, and that's the one thing I didn't like at the whole match. But that's me again being very ultra critical, because I think I want to make sure I put over the fact that Trick Williams and Obafemi absolutely tore it down for the time they had. I thought they were brilliant. I absolutely loved that match.
Yeah, just to further that on a little bit, I think Trick Williams' NXT life started a little bit rocky, but then week by week, he kind of somehow, I've never quite seen it like this, propelled himself to someone that the whole crowd was behind. Like literally not one person in 90% of the arenas they go in, which is predominantly mostly the same. By the end of it, kind of had grown to love him. So it's one of those ones that I'll be really pleased if it does happen and he goes up. But I really hope that they keep that trajectory that he's on going, because that hasn't been that long. It's only been a couple of months. So I really hope if that does happen, I would love for them to go again, him and Obafemi, but I don't see it making a great deal of sense. So, so yeah, we shall see what that is. But I guess my closing thoughts on NXT, I'm going to pass over to Lee, only because you added the point of the pacing of the whole card, and I guess it's more so because you haven't watched NXT really much at all. Yeah. So I guess it was that viewpoint as well.
It was really weird, the pacing of the show, in that as great as it is to showcase the women's division, isn't it a bit odd to have the 3 matches at the start of the show back to back to back? I think it wouldn't it have been better, I don't know, lengthening it out, changing it up a little bit. It just seemed a little bit, here's the women's part of the show and here's the men's part of the show. I just think just mixing it up a little bit might have looked a little bit better. That was just my thoughts.
Yeah,
it's almost like you can watch a pay-per-view or something, and you want to see like 1 minute you're like variation on a matchup. You can have a one-on-one, and you can have a tag match, and then there's going to be a stipulation match and whatever it could be, just to mix it all up a little bit. It just felt a little bit weird on the pacing of it. But then again, it might have been to do with their timing. As you mentioned when you talk about Rock's promo and how much time he had left. I don't know if it was that might have been an issue as well. I don't know. But just seemed a little bit odd for me.
So, as someone, I guess on the flip side, as someone that's watched NXT quite a few years, consistently not watching the whole program every single week, but staying up with it, I've got split opinions on it. Recently, it's been absolutely amazing, and I kind of wish they pulled some of that into the show. I don't think it was bad. I think it was still good, and it was a good introduction for people. I'm just a little bit disappointed in it because I know that they can do a hell of a lot better. But hopefully that's one that they grow with. And I hope that people tune into it because actually most of the matches on NXT are of a watchable level, if not great. And that doesn't transfer over to Raw and SmackDown because if I'm being brutally honest, some weeks when the matches mean absolutely nothing, I'll skip to the bottom of my page that tells me the result, read about what's happened, and that's it. But I think, I just hope people keep up with it, really. But yeah, I guess that's all we've really got to say on WWE. Just quickly, I wanted to mention on AEW that there was a Will Ospreay and Buddy Murphy match, which was a pay-per-view level match being on a weekly show. So I'm really pleased for AEW because as much as we've said lots of not so great things about them over this last year, I think they can be really pleased with what they did this week during the week that they were clearly going to fall hell of a lot short, and what they've got next week. That was an amazing match, and a bit like we spoke about earlier with Jacob Fatu, somebody that has been predominantly in trios matches, actually came away from that and chose, and I think surprised a lot of people, and that's going to propel him to different heights. I think obviously status remains of Aleister Black coming back, and I know on Friday when I was at the show, they was even saying, is he going to go back to WWE? But all of these rumours never kind of happen, potentially. They could do, but there's kind of flip sides. That means that everybody at House of Black could have their own kind of spotlight. But then at the same time, I do think Will Ospreay versus Aleister Black would be great to see. So, it's one of those. So the other thing that they had, I guess, was the Casino Gauntlet match to face John Moxley next week. This week now, Wednesday, at a Dynamite that they call it Maximum Charge, which will feature John Moxley versus Powerhouse Hobbs for the title. And then it will also consist of the Casino Gauntlet for the women's as well, which was decided that Chris Statlander would be the first entrance to that. There was a cool spot with Jeff Jarrett and MJF. MJF said that if he helped him to win the title, the AEW title in 2025, would he give MJF the first shot? Jeff Jarrett, I thought was really cool because he doesn't really get much of a say on AEW nowadays. So he said that he called him entitled and a one-hit wonder, refused his offer, and said that he's going for the title in 2025, which I would love to see. I think that would be a great thing for AEW to do, even if it meant him winning it and then saying, right, that's it, that's my time up now. I think that would be great. Edge has got a new name. He's now called Cope. I'm not entirely sure.
I can't cope with it.
As to what Mastermind thought of that one, but it sounds horrendous. As I write down Death Rider's layout Cope, it just sounds horrendous. So, yeah, I think there's enough about that. And then, obviously, Kenny Omega came back and set up what I hope is a very long feud between him and Will, because we need more matches in that saga. If you haven't or don't know about that saga, two amazing matches that you need to go back and watch. But yeah, there's that. And I think that's pretty much it.
One more thing.
Go on.
A lot of concern on social media over the weekend. Obviously, the terrible situation, what's going on in America, particularly LA with the fires and everything like that. And Melina, formerly of the Eminem faction, was a lot of worry about her being missing in action. Apparently, she has contacted the promotion that she is working for. She's all A-OK. So that is really good news to pretty much, if we're wrapping up. Melina is A-OK, and that's great because she actually seems to be one of the nicest people in the business. So yeah, I hope she's all good. And
then I guess the news that you brought to us earlier about Matt Riddle, because that's quite bizarre, and I think that'll be a not a very nice way to end, but a different way to end.
Yeah. Okay. So can someone help me out with Riddle's opponent in MLW?
Can do.
Japanese wrestler is all I can give you at the moment.
I'm not currently tuned in. Was it Kojima, perchance?
It might be. That sounds right. So, not seen the match, but I understand Riddle has become the new MLW champion. However, at the end of the match, I think the pyro's going off, and Kojima's been somewhat injured with the pyro going off in somewhere near his face. It sounds like he's not too bad because he's sort of he's stood up with Riddle at the end, but it just sounds a little bit of a bizarre issue that happened over the weekend. But interesting that someone's decided to pull the trigger on Riddle. I wouldn't trust him anywhere near a title belt, to be honest, but that's just me.
I guess it poses the question on that's probably forgivable in the 70s and the 80s when technology wasn't fantastic, but it poses the question as to why that happens now. It's the safety of the people that loads of people watch, isn't it? So it's kind of worrying, but I guess again,
we've seen pyro failures before, as we spoke about before we went up one on air. The one with I think Undertaker. When some of his pyros going off when he's going into the elimination chamber. There's also another one involving Taker, I think, of an end of a WrestleMania. It might have been the Batista match where there's pyro going off and it's sort of gone off into the fans. And so that's all a bit worrying. All I can say is hope everyone's all right from it. I'm sure there'll be clips on YouTube if you wanted to see exactly yourself what's happened.
Also, another breaking one. Jordan has let me know of something. I did see this before. As I came home, but it only told me that WWE were going to be going head to head with AEW at All In Weekend. It didn't tell me what it would be. So.
All right.
So they're going directly head to head now with Saturday night's main event in August. I don't know. I don't want to start another conversation because we've been going for 2 hours. But rehashing
this might be a record, mate.
It's not. I'm pretty sure it's not. Rehashing and a pay-per-view that we've had quite recently again in the same year. Kind of setting yourself up to fail again. But yeah, here we go. I'm really excited about tonight and what's to come. I hope that in the weeks going forward, you'll be able to hear less of me and more of other people because it's been really nice to, I guess, be able to ask loads of questions and gain the opinions of people as well. But yeah, I guess that's where I'm at. I'm going to start with Jordan. Is there anything you might not have been posed this question before? Is there anything that you would like to plug on this said channel to end the show?
No, I've got nothing to plug.
Okay.
If you're going to make me say something, then don't drink Hulk Hogan's beer. The man is not a nice man. Don't drink his beer. Drink something better instead.
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold, yeah, sure.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so it's good to have you back. Hopefully, we see a little bit more. Obviously, other commitments may come into that, but hopefully. Hamza, thank you for coming on for the first time.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I hope you. It's been really good to have you. Is there anything that you would like to tell the people?
2025, let's get it. Multiversal domain expansion. It's going to be a good year. Good wrestling, good music, good times. Let's just hope everyone has a good year.
I really like that. And last but not least, Lee, I'm going to bring up your fancy little banner. Everybody else is going to have to eventually get a little banner. I don't really know how, but kind of get thinking. Where is my banner? It is here somewhere.
It's down there.
It is now.
Wonders of technology. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, guys, I'll just say thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being part of the stream as always here on Wrestle Dawgs. You can find me on my channel, although it's not a happy place at Gooner Gathering right now, as the Arsenal have just had a couple of bad results. But, you know, I'm not going to go overboard on that. That's where you can find me. That's where you find me most at Gooner Gathering on X, and at Gooner Lee Meets on X as well is my personal account. You can find me and subscribe to the channel, and make sure you subscribe to this one if you've got this far, and make sure you give it a lovely old like.
I'm really pleased. It's not very often that the Patreon's covered, so I'm going to put it here instead. That's our Patreon. You have our Instagram here. I'm just trying to not bring the Hulk Hogan background up again, because that's not how we want to end.
We just should boo him all right at the end.
Believe it or not, I've done worse things than that, I think. So
true.
That's my own personal Instagram. And next week's blooper that I'm going to keep on the channel in the background is Lee using his first curse word.
Good.
And we're basically turning him from family friendly to he goes off the rails on Wrestle Dawgs. So
that's my gimmick here. Yes.
Right. So I think that's basically it. Thank you for anybody that's watched or anybody that is going to watch. And we'll see you the next time we're on. I can't give you the date on that one though. So bye everyone.